This day is also the day, besides being the Jagannath Ratha-Yatra, that Srila Guru Maharaj founded Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Math in 1942, when he entered the hut and put the flag up and announced with the pranam mantram the conceptual architecture of the mat. But we're just watching this parade, if you want to call it that, is on national television in India. Right? It's being broadcast. Maybe some of you saw it today. And if you look closely at the crowd and you do a head count, you'll notice that there's more than 1 million people there. Literally. This isn't some exaggeration, like where someone says, oh, there was 1 million people there. No, there's 1 million people there. Or more. And there was something I heard a long time ago, and we don't know whether it's attributable to Marx or not, but it was in an observation about, like we hear the famous saying that religion is the opiate of the people. Right? This is a saying. But attributed to him, as we say, that whether it can be verified or not is another thing, was the notion that if you want to know what the epitome of religious expression is, and this was not meant as a compliment, it was meant as something meant to alarm you or disturb you. He said, if you want to know where religion goes, if you allow religion to be unrestricted in its fullest expression, this can be seen at the Jagannath Ratha-Yatra in Puri. So they're thinking that some deity will be on a chariot with millions of pilgrims dancing and singing, and the rumors were that some would throw themselves under the wheels of the chariot, giving up their lives and things like this. One thing we do see, even to this day, is with all those people there, and there's many old people, they're carrying some people away. Their final moments were, at the Ratha-Yatra in front of Jagannath. So it's a very mystical pastime. We see it in the Gaudiya Darshan, which means we see this the way Mahaprabhu sees it, the way his devotees see it. Many things you can observe from an external point of view, the way academics, archaeologists, historians, politicians, the way people observe the world from an external point of view. But that's temporary and conditional. It's contextual to time, some particular place and time, history. But our concern is the Gaudiya Darshan, meaning through the eyes of Mahaprabhu and his followers, the way they're seeing. So if we gather a conception from different sources, we'll hear from Srila Guru Maharaj that, and it's corroborated by Sanatana Goswami in the Brihad Bhagavatamritam. Krishna, after his childhood pastimes, he has his Kumar Leela, his very young pastimes with Nanda and Yasoda in Vrindavan. And then later, when he gets older, he has his pastimes with the cowherd boys, and then older with the Braja Gopis, and then he leaves Vrindavan and goes to Mathura for some time, and ultimately to Dwaraka. And in Dwaraka, Krishna, who is a cowherd, right, his original position is that of a cowherd. In Dwaraka, he takes the position of a king. Right? And there, he has 16,108 queens, right, who are all considered expansions of Braja Gopis from Vrindavan. Radharani expands out of Vrindavan into Dwaraka as Satyabhama. Chandravali expands out of Vrindavan as Rukmini, the principal queen. Their positions reverse there. Why? As Srila Guru Maharaj will say, in Vrindavan, in the ultimate plane, heart is above intellect. Heart reigns supreme. Sentiment, emotion, feeling. Heart occupies the highest position. So of the two, Radharani and Chandravali, she is known for her intelligence, Radharani for her Radha Bhav, her self-giving, self-sacrificing, loving tendencies. She is the Mahabhav Swarupini, Radha Thakurani. The highest expression of Krishna Prem is personified in Srimati Radharani and extended from her. But when they expand out of Vrindavan into Dwaraka, their positions reverse. As in Dwaraka, intellect will be above heart. So Chandravali will be the principal queen there as Rukmini, and Radharani as Satyabhama. And Bhama is an allusion to a contrary nature. Bhama Bhav means some opposition, loving opposition. So Krishna wants to move in a particular way, she's opposed to that. And that inspires Krishna, it excites him, gives him greater enthusiasm. So anyway, in Dwaraka, sometimes the queens of Dwaraka, they hear things about Krishna's former life in Vrindavan when he was a cowherd. And they're eager to hear something of those pastimes. And Rohini, the mother of Balaram, she has a position in Vrindavan, also a position in Dwaraka. So in Brihad Bhagavatamritam, once the queens, they're expressing some concern about Krishna, and they're sharing information with one another. They say, have you noticed that sometimes in his sleep, he's calling out the names of Radharani and Braja Gopis from Vrindavan. He seemed, he is feeling some homesickness. Other queens say, yes, even during the daytime, sometimes he's absent-minded. He doesn't seem to be there. He is remembering Vrindavan. So on this one particular day, as it unfolds in Brihad Bhagavatamritam, in the Sudharma assembly, the Yadavas are assembled there, and Krishna's late to appear in the royal court. And they're all riveted to this one doorway. It's the door through which Krishna walks every day. They're all staring with great, samadhi-like intensity, and Krishna's not coming. And on the inside, the problem is this day, Krishna cannot get out of bed because he's feeling great separation from Vrindavan. And we're told, the other queen's asking, Rohini, she's speaking to him about Radharani, the Braja Gopis, Vrindavan pastimes. And this awakens in Krishna such deep feelings of separation that he undergoes some ecstatic transformation. Right? Like Srila Guru Maharaj saying, when something is moving in a particular direction, sometimes we see speed studies and photography. They show someone, like a pilot, when they're flying in a plane and they approach the speed of sound, or something like. Anyway, when an object's moving in a particular direction, if some force comes to pull it in another direction, the result of that is some transfiguration of the subject. So in this case, Krishna's, we can say, moving at the speed of infinite and the direction of Dwaraka Leela as the king and that identity. But the pull of Vrindavan, of the love of Radharani, Brajagopis, and all the inhabitants of Vrindavan, Nanda, Jashoda, the cows, the environment, everyone there is pulling on Krishna so hard that he undergoes this ecstatic transformation. So sometimes the ecstasy goes in two directions. Sometimes going inward, so the limbs are entering in the body, like in the case of Mahaprabhu, like a tortoise. And other times they're going in another direction. So you see in the case of Jagannath, Krishna, his eyes become very big, his arms are entering his body, and he's stunned in ecstasy in remembrance of Vrindavan. He can't move. He's in this remarkable ecstatic transformation. So, at that time when his separation is so extreme, if someone will come and take him to Vrindavan, how much gratitude we can say Krishna will have for them. So Dwarka is paralleled in Puri, just as we say the parallel of Vrindavan is Navadvip, the parallel of Dwaraka is Jagannath Puri. So that means Krishna in Dwaraka. Right? But when Mahaprabhu, after taking sannyas, he goes before the Jagannath deity, he's seeing Shyama Sundar Krishna. He's seeing Krishna in the dress of a cowherd boy playing his flute and his Shyama Sundar form, his threefold bending form. So we're told once a year this separation for Vrindavan becomes so great that Krishna as Jagannath, he looks for some excuse to return to Vrindavan. So the queens of Dwaraka, in this case represented and personified as Lakshmi Devi, she will be a little suspicious why Krishna wants to go to Vrindavan, because that's the place, it's his hometown, his girlfriend, his childhood sweetheart is there. What is the real purpose for this? So to let's not placate, but to relieve, is another word, her doubts or suspicions. He's saying, I'll go with my brother and sister in the company of Balaram and his brother and Subhadra, his sister. I'll go to Vrindavan. So don't think anything wrong about it. So that's why there we see 3 chariots, one for Balaram, Subhadra, and Jagannath. So the Jagannath deity, he is in the temple, and interestingly, during the year, no one is allowed who's, they have a sign in somebody that says, no, it says Hindus only. So, and different times, different delightful arguments have appeared. Once, Guru Maharaj, Achyutananda Maharaj was having a discussion with these people, and they saying, well, because you've eaten meat in this lifetime, you're contaminated, you can't enter. But in your future lifetime, you can enter. So he said, I have a question to ask you. In your estimation, tell me which is greater, the contaminating, polluting effect of sinful activities, or the purifying effect of the holy name of Krishna? Which is greater? They're like, nonetheless, you'll have to wait a lifetime. So, and even in the time of Mahaprabhu, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Haridas Thakur, they could not enter the temple. I remember the first time I went there in 1974 was not at the time of Ratha-Yatra, and I was, unlike Vrindavan, it's not clear where all these holy places are, at least at that time. They were hard to find. In Vrindavan, you can just say, where is this? And everyone will point or send you in a particular direction. In Puri, I wasn't sure what to ask. So, and I knew in my heart, you're not supposed to enter there, but then one day I was so curious, and I thought, well, maybe you're not supposed to enter the actual temple, but I can go through the gate and there's some peripheral temples. I'm sure that will be okay. I was in a state of denial. So I walked through this one gate, and within 30 seconds, the police came, the guards came, and they took me and threw me in a gutter. And for those of you familiar with India, talking about an Indian gutter, that, you know, I don't think I need to describe what's in there. So now I'm all covered in all these foul substances and everything, and very dejected and thinking that was not a good thing to do. And I'm feeling, now I'm in the Dham, I'm committing offenses. Who's going to save me? And before I'd taken the train, I saw at the train station in Howrah, Srila Bhakti Dayita Madhav Maharaj of the Gaudiya Math, a famous disciple of Srila Saraswati Thakur, who Guru Maharaj would always mention was Hayagriva Brahmachari. He's one of the, Saraswati Thakur described him as a man of volcanic energy. So I'd seen him at the train station in Howrah and given my dandavats, and he rode in one, I rode in another, and now seeing me dejected, and he was going by in a rickshaw and he could see that I needed some help. And he called me into his garden at his mat, Tulsi garden, and he started explaining to me what was proper behavior and what to do. And one of the things he said was, because I said, I don't understand why we can't enter. And he said, you know, Rupa Goswami did not enter. And my head went down. He said, Sanatan Goswami did not enter. And my head went down. He said, Haridas Thakur did not enter. And I was ashamed. But in a gentle way, he made me think, but if these great souls, because of some tradition, some social etiquette of the time, could not enter, then you shouldn't feel bad. And so Mahaprabhu at the time told Haridas Thakur from a place called Siddha Bakul. Bakul is a type of tree. Siddha means like liberated. So that tree, Siddha Bakul, liberated tree, said from there you can see the dome and the spire, and that's considered divine. So he told Haridas Thakur, you can sit beneath the Siddha Bakul tree, take the holy name of Krishna there and you'll see the spire, and every day I will send prasadam to you. So Haridas Thakur would stay there, taking Krishna Nam, 3 lakhs of Krishna Nam every day. It's like 192 rounds. And Mahaprabhu would come and see him, visit him sometimes, send prasadam. And when they were in Puri, Rupa and Sanatana Goswami would stay with him. So he told me, that will be the first place you go. So it's like writing down in a book. He told me how much to pay the rickshaw. Then from there, you'll go to the house of Vasudev Sarvabhauma, to Shweta Ganga, and told me every place to go, and I took notes on all of that. And then, now, under his affectionate guidance, happily began to tour that divine place. So it's mentioned, there are mysterious, cryptic passages in different parts of Vedic literature saying that things like, you know, the world's salvation or liberation will come from the shore or from the east, and Jagannath Puri. So that Jagannath appeared there, and although everyone can't see him throughout the year, but his mercy is distributed in the form of prasadam. And so that's always been a big part of going to Jagannath Puri, is to take the prasadam. And even in Chaitanya Charitamritam, there's mention of this family line, Kuntiya. And our Panda there, the priest and head of our line, his name was Gopinath Kuntiya. So when you would go there, you could go to his house, and Mahaprabhu had been to their house. And as Gurudev pointed out, unlike other places where they've built a structure to commemorate some divine pastimes or activities, in Puri, many of the places are the original ones. Like we're looking at the dome of the temple. That's the same temple visited by Mahaprabhu. And so, anyway, they would give us prasadam. They arrange and serve Gopinath Kunti. He would serve us prasadam. And his line, family line, they continued doing that up to the time of Srila Gurudev, and even now. So, I asked Guru Maharaj once, because I was trying to understand something about how to assess Navadvip Dham and Jagannath Puri in some comparative way. And Srila Guru Maharaj told me, he said, we had to discuss these things in a very delicate way, but he said, the stalwart followers of Mahaprabhu are in Navadvip. Like Bhaktivinoda expresses in the song, just as these Braja Gopis want Krishna to come back to Vrindavan, Bhaktivinoda Thakur and the other devotees there of Navadvip, they're saying, when will Nimai Pandit give up the robes of renunciation and return to Navadvip, and we'll have our prem kirtan, as we did previously. Braja Gopis is saying, when will Krishna give up the dress of a king and return to Vrindavan in the dress of a cowherd, playing his flute, the sweet sound of his flute on the banks of the Jamuna with the breeze, the flowers, that's what we want. We don't like seeing him in the dress of a king, surrounded by so many ministers and people. So it's some divine sentiment. So Guru Maharaj is saying, really, there in Navadvip are the most stalwart devotees of Mahaprabhu. But still, Mahaprabhu goes to Puri. Why? To plunge the depths of Radha Bhav. We hear in the beginning of Chaitanya Charitamritam, Radha Bhav Duti Subalitam Nomi Krishna Swarupam. When Swarup Damodar is explaining who is Mahaprabhu substantially, that Krishna has taken on the heart and subsequently, as the outcome of that, the halo of Srimati Radharani. Krishna is in the position of Radharani, seeing what it is like to be in love with Krishna, the love she has for Krishna, the sweetness she's tasting, and seeing the divine form of Krishna, hearing the sound of his flute, his divine name, and the ecstasy that she's experiencing. It's mentioned in the beginning of Chaitanya Charitamritam that Krishna thinks in this mutual exchange we have, this loving exchange, what she's experiencing is 10 million times greater than what I'm experiencing. That's his estimation. He's ecstasy personified, and he's saying what she's experiencing is 10 million times greater than what I experience. But he can only understand that theoretically when he's Krishna, the supreme enjoyer. To really feel it, he has to leave the position of an enjoyer and take on her position. But we see where the extremes reached is in separation. Right? Guru Maharaj liked to quote the poet Shelley, who says in one of his poems, "Our sweetest songs are those that tell the saddest thoughts." So the sweetest songs, the most compelling, heart-devouring, heart-swallowing songs are painful love songs. Right? The happy songs, that's another mood. But the love stories, the songs that tell of heartbreaking love affairs and separation between the lovers, what are in modern times they call them torch songs. These are the most compelling songs. And so the heart, the depth of heart achieved through separation is a greater, more developed plane of love than that which is experienced in union. So we see, Srila Gurudev would point out, he's saying, what is Mahaprabhu's tasting matter? As he once said, everyone understands the joy of union, even the animals. He said, but what sort of ecstatic feelings can flood the heart, feeling separation? This is unknown in the animal culture and other cultures, but is the depth of human culture and divine sentiment. So 2 points Mahaprabhu is mining repeatedly. He has his public service, Guru Maharaj sometimes calls it, as the Nam Sankirtan. We're chanting the holy name of Krishna congregationally, distributing the holy names to others, liberating so many. But after so many years of public service, he goes privately behind closed doors in his room called the Gangbira. Gangbir means deep. And he dives deep into the internal aspect, why he descended, to explore the depths of Radharani's heart and her love for Krishna. And it's achieved its greatest depth at 2 points, where separation reaches its zenith. One is the Brahmar Gita, where Krishna sends a message through Uddhava to the Braja Gopis who are suffering separation from him. But the other, and what is being explored here, is at Kurukshetra. Now we know generally, people think, oh, Kurukshetra, that's where Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita. And that's true on the battlefield to Arjuna. But that is not why it's being mentioned here. Here, we have to give a little bit of backstory to qualify this. We hear, through the contraction and expansion of time and space, the Rasa Leela, that divine dance, pastime, ecstatic love affair of Krishna and the Braja Gopis, it lasts for a night of Brahma, Brahmaratri. Sahasra Yuga Parjantam, Ohor Yad Brahmano Vidu. That means 4,300,000,000 years. So by Krishna's inconceivable omnipotence, that night lasts for a night of Brahma. But the Braja Gopis, due to the intensity of their love for Krishna, to them it's like the blink of an eye. They're lamenting. In parallel, so that's union. That time of union is like the blink of an eye to them. In retrospect, they're lamenting that it's finished. It was like a moment. In parallel, we're told they're cursing the creator Brahma for making eyes that blink, because for that moment they don't see Krishna, and that blinking of an eye to them feels, that nanosecond, whatever it is, feels like 4,300,000,000 years. Contraction and expansion of time and space. All of these things are possible by the inconceivable will and potency of Krishna. So those gopis who can't tolerate, if a tree comes between them and Krishna when they're in the Vrindavan forest, they're having heart failure. So after 100 years of separation, Krishna, it's the time of a solar eclipse. And at that time, it was their custom to go to Kurukshetra. And there are different observances. We just had a solar eclipse here recently. It's not the time to discuss that. But anyway, on the plea of a solar eclipse, Krishna, as a king, and all the queens of Dwarka, they all come and go to Kurukshetra, and the Braja Gopis and Nanda Maharaj, Krishna's mother and father, and they all go there as well from Vrindavan. So after 100 years of separation, finally they're seeing Krishna again. But Radharani expresses some disappointment because she sees the gopis, they're all looking, they say, where's the flute? Don't see any flute. And these clothes, he's got a crown, he's a king, and they think, this is not our Krishna. Our Krishna, he dresses like a cowherd boy, and we try to steal that flute from him sometimes. He's inseparable from his dear friend, the flute. And now we see no flute. It's heartbreaking to us. And we like to see him when he plays the flute on the banks of the Jamuna River in the Vrindavan forest, lotus flowers, the jasmine, fragrating the air, and the sounds of the cuckoo, the kokil, the peacocks, the gentle breeze of the Jamuna, and the moonlit nights. That's what we remember. So Guru Maharaj, quoting Bhaktivinoda Thakur about this moment, he said, service, and this is a spiritual principle, service according to the intensity of its necessity draws remuneration. This is a sutric-like expression of Guru Maharaj, that service according to the intensity of its necessity draws remuneration. So this is the zenith point of separation, where Radharani is in need of help from her serving group. Her heart is flooded with such disappointment. So the great devotees, this is their internal culture, is to try and render some service at that time, to assist her at that moment. In the Garga Sangita, which Srila Gurudev liked, these pastimes can be mined from infinite perspective. So there it's mentioned at this meeting that the queens of Dwarka, as we indicated earlier from Brihad Bhagavatamritam, they have some eagerness to see Radharani because they've heard so much about her. And these queens, remember, they're all chinmoy, they're all spiritual, comprised of divine spiritual forms that are inconceivably beautiful. So they know, they're the queens of Dwarka, that they're extraordinarily beautiful. But they're wondering, what is the pull of this cowherd girl from Vrindavan that she has upon Krishna. So they're thinking, and they know the other queens are beautiful also. Like even in this world, beautiful women know who beautiful women are. They can observe the beauty of other women. So they're thinking, how beautiful could she be? You know, like marginally more beautiful or equal to beauty? What is her position? And it's described there when the 16,808 queens of Dwarka come, and Radharani is brought on a palanquin by the Braja Gopis, that when the queens of Dwarka see the beauty of Srimati Radharani, they all faint and lose consciousness. So, anyway, at this time, Radharani expresses something of her heart and on behalf of the Braja Gopis, and Krishna responds. And there's some mystical transmission there. So at the Ratha-Yatra, every year Mahaprabhu will assemble with his devotees, and he takes the role of Radharani, and what they're doing is Jagannath on the chariot with Balaram and Subhadra, and they're taking Krishna back to Vrindavan. So that's why they're so happy and ecstatically dancing. So all the devotees, the great devotees, would come from Navadvip every year. They'd make this pilgrimage, and when they arrive, Mahaprabhu and they give them garlands, and the king and they sit on the rooftops and ask, please point out who are these great devotees. And at that time, Mahaprabhu assigns principal devotees, creates first 4 groups. Each group has 2 mridanga players. They end up with 7 groups. So there's 14 mridangas. Each one has a lead singer, a lead dancer, and responders. And they're positioned in different places around the chariot. So in one group you have Nityananda Prabhu dancing, another Advaita Acharya dancing, Srivas Thakur singing, the boy Raghunandan, he's one of the lead dancers, Brikeshwara Pandit's a dancer, Swarup Damodar, singer, he's always next to Mahaprabhu. So when they go before the Jagannath, Mahaprabhu starts playing the role of Radharani to see, has Krishna forgotten us? So sometimes he dances toward the back of the chariot, and then the chariot will stop. It's Jagannath, Krishna's way of letting him know and her know, I've not forgotten you. Then he comes to the front, he's dancing. He has 3 types of dancing, the Udanda Nritya, where he's leaping straight up in the air, up and down with his hand, leaping very high. That's one type of dance according to what he's feeling in his heart. Another is, there's gentle dancing, and then there's what is called the Tandava Nritya. This means like Lord Shiva, a wild dance of devastation where the ecstasy is so intense that in a wild manic frenzy he's dancing. And these when different moods surface, the different types of dancing manifest. And so when Mahaprabhu comes before Jagannath, the first verse he sings as way of introduction, he says, Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagad Hitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Then he sings some verses from the Bhagavatam from different places, and that have some mystical meaning to them in the background. But while this is going on, as he becomes lost in Radha Bhav, in the heart of Radharani, the other devotees have to protect him. Sometimes he's dancing madly, oblivious to everything. They have to catch him. But sometimes they're in ecstasy. Sometimes Nityananda Prabhu is spun off in ecstasy, Advaita Acharya, Mahaprabhu, Swarup Damodar has the ability to maintain his composure somehow and sing songs that augment the mood of Mahaprabhu, sing certain slokas. And sometimes Mahaprabhu will expand himself into 7, so that in each one of those parties, those kirtan parties, they think he's dancing in the center of their party. They can't see, right? It appears he's only in their party. But to some devotees, described as antaranga bhaktas, internal devotees, they can see in 7 forms he's dancing in each place. Many things like this. Sometimes when he's dancing, Nityananda Prabhu looks and he sees that he's become Radharani. Not only in mood, but he's actually exhibiting the form of Srimati Radharani, and saying Nityananda Prabhu will keep some distance at that time. And at the critical point, he comes before Jagannath and he starts singing a mysterious song. And Srila Guru Maharaj points out this song, the way it was generally interpreted, he said was like a nasty song. He's saying this was peculiar because this was a famous Sanskrit poem that is used to teach alankar, like poetic ornamentation and different types of composition. But the subject matter appears to be about a girl losing her virginity on the banks of a river on a moonlit night, etc. So Mahaprabhu would start singing this song. So these are, as Gurudev said, simple-hearted, pure devotees. They don't think anything wrong of it, but they may not understand why he's singing that. Just like sometimes Srila Gurudev, he'd sing some different songs, not like that, but different songs about, that weren't standard songs. But in his mind, it had some special meaning to him. So Mahaprabhu would sing this, and no one could understand why. Almost no one. As we know, Swarupa Viditam, Swarup Damodar, Mahaprabhu Ditiya Kalevar. He's Mahaprabhu the second. He knows everything about Mahaprabhu, but he's not necessarily telling that or revealing it. So once, as we told, Rupa living with Haridas and Sanatan on that Siddha Bokul. Rupa Goswami, who's really Rupanuga, we're all aspiring Rupanugas. It's Rupa Goswami's line, Sri Rupa Manjari, the leader of the juniors, the main assistant of Lalita Sakhi. Rupa Goswami writes a parallel verse. Whatever's in that song he's singing, he writes his own revealing. Who is that girl? Who is that boy? What is that moonlit night? What is that river? The boy is Krishna, the girl is Radha, the river is Jamuna, it's the moonlit night, and all of these things. The place is Vrindavan. He writes his own sloka once, and they would write these on palm leaves, and he sticks it in the roof of that thatched hut and goes to bathe. So, and Mahaprabhu comes by to visit Haridas Thakur, and they say, what is this? Oh, Rupa wrote something. Mahaprabhu pulls down that leaf and he reads this. He says, how can he possibly know this? This is the internal condition of my heart. He asked Swarup Damodar, how could he know that? And Swarup Damodar said, you must have revealed it to him, otherwise it's not possible. But so when Rupa Goswami came back from bathing that day, he walked in the room, Mahaprabhu went, he slapped him. What in English you call a love tap. He said, why are you revealing this to everyone? But in that way he's confirming the truth of what is found there. So the first one, Yak Kumara Hara paralleled in Priya Soyam Krishna.